All right, guys, we are going to be getting into meiosis this week. Now, this happens when the fusion of a single egg and a sperm cell results in the complex creature that is you. So the DNA that directs your cells, they came from your mother and from your father. And their DNA also came from their mother and their father, and so on and so forth. So today we are going to begin to examine the process that went into making you who you are. So here is some key vocabulary for you with meiosis. So you have many types of specialized cells in your body, and they are classified in two ways. First, you have your somatic cells. They are also known as your body cells. So this is the tissue that is going to be found in the body tissue and organs. That is where you're going to find somatic cells. Now, the DNA in body cells are not going to be passed off to offspring. Now, you have the second type of cell. Oh, an example of a somatic cell is also your nerve cells. So the other type of cell is your gametes. So these are known as sex cells. This is where the sperm and the egg come into play. So eggs are going to be found in females, and the sperm is going to be found in males. So the DNA in gametes can be passed off to offspring. So an easy way to remember that is gametes are the sex cells only. Gametes are only sex cells, while the somatic cells is what makes up everything else. So some more key vocabulary for us. Chromosome. A chromosome is a condensed DNA molecule with part or all of the genetic material of an organism. So each species has a characteristic number of chromosomes per cell. So us, for example, as a human, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, or 46 in total. That is what is considered the normal amount of chromosomes. Now, there are some instances where people won't have the 46 in total. They might have 47 or 45, or anything else could happen. But when that occurs, that is normally because there has been some kind of mutation that has happened within the body, and it will show itself in things that would be considered non-ideal for human characteristics. So, for example, people with Down syndrome have one extra chromosome, meaning that they have 47 chromosomes. And as we all know, Down syndrome manifests itself in a physical and mental way. So that's just one example of how the chromosomes can affect the way that you are. Now, I want you guys to do some quick research. So, you may use your favorite search engine to research the number of chromosomes that the following organisms contain in their somatic cells, which is their body cells, and then their gametes, which is their sex cells. So, I have given you humans, a rat, pea, a honeybee, a housefly, a cat, and a fruit fly. Now, I've already given you the information for the number of somatic cells and gametes for a human, but I want you to conduct your research for the rest. All right, thank you so much for playing, guys. And here is our answers. So, we already knew the human information, but let's jump down and continue to look. We definitely have some very interesting numbers. All right. Now, as you already know that because we've been talking about this so much, we know that DNA is going to be found in the nucleus of our cell. But something that we didn't really talk about is how DNA is not just floating around in here by itself. This is going to be part of a chromosome. So now you have two types of chromosomes. You have autosomes. So these are the chromosomes that will carry traits. So that is going to be chromosomes number 1 through 22. So all of these chromosomes are going to carry your traits, such as eye color, hair color, anything like that that is going to be passed down from your parents are going to be carried in chromosomes 1 through 22, which are autosomes. Now, you have sex chromosomes. So these are the chromosomes with genes related to biological sex. So this is going to be number 23. That's going to be your X and your Y. So if you have two X's, that person is going to be genetically classified as female. While if you see an XY, that person is genetically classified as male. So if you notice, the picture we have here of a karyotype has an XY. So we know that this is a karyotype of a male because it has an XY sex chromosome. So they are genetically classified as male, meaning that they are more likely to have male genitalia as well as producing male hormones. All right, some more key vocabulary for you is homologous chromosomes. So, homologous chromosomes are two chromosomes with the same genes, but may have different versions of the gene, which is also known as alleles. So, this is when one comes from the mother and one is going to come from the father. So here is an example. So we have our two homologous chromosomes here. They go through replication, and that's what makes a full chromosome. So even though the color is different because one comes from mother, one comes from father, they are still expressing the same gene, just in different versions because you get half from mom and half from dad. Now, we have what we called a diploid, which is considered 2N in our genetics math. So these cells will have two copies of each chromosome. So that's where our 2 comes from. And they are considered somatic cells. So those are your body cells, and they have homologous chromosomes. Now, you also have your haploid cells, which are just represented by N. So think half for haploid. So these cells only have one copy of each chromosome. So these are going to be your gametes or your sex cells, and they do not have those homologous chromosomes. So you can notice the difference here. We only have one of each, while down here we are doubled. So remember, haploid is half, while diploid is 2. And if you remember our prefixes, we see the prefix di here. So if you recall, means 2. Now, fertilization. Fertilization is the uniting of a sperm, which is considered N, and an egg, which is also considered N cells. So that is n plus n equals 2n. This is what results in a diploid zygote. And a diploid zygote is a fertilized egg. The fertilized egg is what turns into you. So this is how we started. We started with an egg and a sperm that fertilized into a zygote. And this grows for 9 months until it becomes a human being just like ourselves. So, but we have two different processes. We have mitosis and meiosis. So mitosis starts with one 2n cell and ends with two 2n cells. So it basically just goes from somatic cells to more somatic cells. While meiosis starts with one 2n cell and it's going to end with four n cells. So we basically are starting with our somatic cells that's going to turn into our sex cells or our gametes. So remember, mitosis starts from 1 to 2. Meiosis is 1 to 4. Now, something unique about meiosis is that when it's producing those four sex cells, they are all genetically different from one another, from the original cell. That is a key difference between meiosis and mitosis. Because if you look, these are all a little bit different, and it's easy to distinguish based on the colors that are represented in here. So, division is so nice, and it happens twice. So, cells go through 2 rounds of division during meiosis so that they can produce genetically unique cells. This is also going to result in more haploid cells, which remember is half. And then it's only going to take place at certain times in an organism's life cycle. And this is the type of division that is involved in sexual reproduction. So here we're going to start with interphase. So we're going to see our homologous chromosomes that are together here. And it's going to split off during meiosis 1 into our 2 different cells here. And those 2 cells are also going to produce 2 more cells in meiosis 2. So that's how we go from 1 cell to 4, because it goes through division twice. All right. So that is it for today. We are going to have a more further breakdown of how it goes through cell division to clear that up a little bit more for you guys. But this is all I'm going to leave you with. So thank you so